welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Purple Mafia is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps. I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to the show. Once again, a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today as the Minnesota Vikings continue their winning ways, defeating the Chicago Bears by a final score of 32-12. The final score does not indicate how tough of a game this ended up being for a while there, but then again, a lot of people will come back and say that, yeah, this was a thorough ass-kicking. Yeah, I guess it kind of was. It was a whiteout. The Vikings whited out the Bears. I don't know. I guess we did. And the uniforms were cool. It was a unique look. Obviously, again, like before, it was just kind of like white uniforms, white pants with purple helmets, and then the white logo kind of throughout the building. I thought that was a really cool idea with a cool scheme back in 2022 when the Vikings beat the Giants. Whereas, unfortunately, a few weeks later, the Giants beat the Vikings in the same venue without the whiteout. It's a cool look heading into the Christmas season. It's the last Vikings game at home before Christmas, so that's kind of the thought process here, generally speaking. But the first time we actually have white helmets and actually kind of specifically designed white uniforms for this particular type of game must be a possible annual type of thing I'll be doing from here on around Christmas season, which I am not against. Though, once again, no snow on the ground, whereas the first time that we had a pretty serious, I believe at least a 12-inch snowfall, very, very light snow during some pretty cold weather, but very light snow that wasn't that hard to deal with, even though it was 12 inches. So it was a pretty cool vibe. But unfortunately, that season, it just kind of reeked of like, when's the other shoe going to drop? And boy, did it drop, because the defense was pretty lousy. This time around, the defense is pretty good, albeit it does have flaws. Obviously, the offensive line has flaws. There were penalties all over the place in this game on both sides of the ball. Sometimes it's like, and it's like, there were times I thought we're going to have purple horns on these helmets, but it's actually just a flat-out white helmet. So it's kind of cool how it's like, again, like the same white horns that we'd have on a purple helmet going with the white uniform. So it's definitely a unique, different look. But again, that's how it goes. The Bears would early and often go for it on fourth down, and the Vikings defense would, thwart them, which was exciting. In fact, very early in the game, just 2 minutes in, the Bears' ensuing drive after the opening kickoff going to the Bears, because, the Vikings won the toss, they were unable to convert on a 4th and 1, handing off to DeAndre Swift, who had a pretty damn good game, but not on that drive. He was stopped at the last moment there before being able to get the first down. But yes, this game was filled with penalties. It was filled with issues. Heck, even my laptop, when I wanted to get started on the show tonight, started acting really weird. Like the screen started looking like it was having waves and such. Like, what the heck is that? Is it a virus or what? But then a simple restart and everything started acting normal again. I don't know. Sometimes computers can scare the living bleep out of you. No doubt about it. The offense today I thought was pretty mediocre until later on. Obviously, penalty after penalty. You had false starts. You had at least three false starts for Cam Robinson, and 5 total penalties in the game by Cam Robinson. Definitely a struggle for him throughout the day. Justin Jefferson had another drop. Jordan Addison had a drop. A couple of plays that probably should have been catches, but still an overall solid game for both of them. 7 catches, 13 targets in Justin Jefferson's case. Some of them throwaways and others just, I don't know, maybe inaccurate and or a drop along the way, where one of Jordan Addison's targets that were not converted was a drop that probably should have been caught. Jalen Naylor with a 1 catch in the game. Unfortunately, the poor guy, again, what does he have, like 5 touchdowns this year? Which is pretty crazy when you consider, like, where has he been? Sherfield Senior, had a terrible penalty as well, running into the kicker, which gave the Bears the first down. So a lot of costly penalties in this game. A lot of stuff we need to clean up and such. The blocking wasn't also great. Sam Darnold was sacked a number of times once again, but that's kind of how that goes. Looks like he was only sacked officially twice. It felt like it was like 4 or 5 times, but I think a lot of that was like he was really close. He was able to escape at the last second. Dallas Turner had a pretty awesome one, and Mr. Jonathan Grenard also had a strip sack in the game. That yes, it was a strip sack, it was a sack, and then of course fumble to go with that. That was awesome. So generally speaking, the Vikings' run defense not so great, and that's been an issue. Obviously, the pass defense kind of is what it is. Darnold definitely not nearly as sharp today as he was last week. Like last week, Darnold had the game of his life. This was not the game of his life. 40 attempts, 24 completions. 40 attempts, think about that. So a little bit too pass-centric in this one, as far as I'm concerned. He did have an interception, which was, again, another one of those kind of forced plays, unnecessary. Only one touchdown pass. This was kind of like what you were expecting from Darnold earlier in the season, and what you saw often earlier in the season when Darnold was leading the league in interceptions. Quarterback rating of 74.1. And again, but if the Vikings defense and overall offense and Darnold was clutch when he needed to be, that type of thing, and you can still win a playoff game, even if he has a mediocre game like that, then you're totally happy. T.J. Hawkinson had a couple of really nice plays. The overall numbers do not necessarily reflect how good he was in this game. 5 catches, 52 yards on 7 targets. 1 catch for 12 yards for Brandon Powell. Another nice first down along the way that did help. Aaron Jones very strong on this one and hung on to the ball. Again, only 1 turnover. Again, was that forced attempt by Samuel Darnold, and the other fumble, the only turnover for Chicago, was the strip sack on Caleb Williams. So that was officially a fumble on him, of course. Eventually was able to throw a touchdown as Caleb. Definitely, there's definitely a feeling that, you know how it is. You know how the Vikings whooped up on the Bears in 98, and by 2001, the Bears were kind of beating up on the Vikings pretty bad. Do you remember that? So, it's I'm not saying that in a couple of years that the Bears are going to be a better team and we're going to have a hell of a time with them, but they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough because Caleb Williams definitely has a lot of attributes. He's not going to be a bust. And just wait till he gets what they're hoping for, a Kevin O'Connell type of a guy to take over the reins there as head coach, or maybe Brian Flores to make that defense extremely good. And then hopefully bring in a, O'Connell-like offensive coordinator, because Kevin O'Connell was an offensive coordinator for a while, or at least with the LA Rams, and they won the Super Bowl, at least for a little bit. He did a hell of a job. So Caleb Williams, if it's a defensive head coach with a really good offensive coordinator, or just a flat-out O'Connell-like, coach of the Bears going forward, maybe Zach Taylor. Who knows? Maybe Flores goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's what some people have been talking about. And Zach Taylor goes to Chicago, which would really help Caleb Williams' cause. So, again, we're not going to be seeing 30-12 probably the next time we play the Bears, I'm guessing. Maybe, though. Maybe they still struggle for a year or two. But eventually it's going to be a tough matchup, though I do believe the J.J. McCarthy era with the Minnesota Vikings, and I do believe the J.J. McCarthy era in Minnesota will still exist. Games like today with Darnold, again, it's just like, it wasn't a bad game. And I'm not just saying ship Darnold the heck out of here necessarily. Yet at the same time, I have a feeling McCarthy is going to have one hell of a career here in Minnesota. So definitely still feeling very optimistic about McCarthy's long-term success in Minnesota. That it isn't going to be just he's going to wind up getting traded and we're going to sign Darnold for $140 million or beyond. We'll have to wait and see. Aaron Jones, again, very strong performance. 18 carries, 86 total yards, almost 5 yards a carry. It did get in the end zone, which was a wonderful feeling. That's when the Vikings were heading in the right direction, and it started to become like a multi-score type of a game. Obviously, 13-0 is multi-scores, but it felt like we were just one play away from this thing being frighteningly close, and it could get weird like it did in Chicago a few weeks ago when we were, back when it was still a long clean-up season for myself. Santos, the Vikings again keeping them out of the end zone. The Bears, midway through the third, finally got on the board, 13-3. And again, the Vikings offense continued to sputter, holding penalties to make it 1st and 20 or whatever. It's just annoying. Like, come on, guys. One thing after another, false starts by, again, Cam Robinson. I can't believe you'd have 3 false starts in the same game, and then 2 other penalties as well. Just ridiculous. And again, the Sheffield giving the Bears a first down. Well, he ran into the punter of the Chicago Bears. That'd be Mr. Not Homer. That was Torrey Taylor, old double T over there. Torrey Taylor, again, running into the kicker, the punter, and giving the Bears a first down. So stuff like that. If that's against the Philadelphia Eagles or Detroit or something in the playoffs, I don't know. That's not going to help. And of course, the next time the Vikings play Detroit, it will basically be a playoff game. Pretty much the rest of the way here, it's kind of like a playoff game. Like Seattle's the type of team you'd play in the wild card round. Hopefully you take care of business, but you might end up having to play them in the first round. It could very well happen. But again, with the way Green Bay throttled them just yesterday, of course, that'll be in segment 2. But yeah, it'll be like Tuesday. We'll be on Tuesday talking about Sunday games, which is kind of funny. So at the time I'm recording the first segment, it's after the game. The rest of the show is Tuesday morning. So yeah, when you're listening to this, it'll be Tuesday and beyond. So just letting you know, I like to record the first segment pretty much after the game, as close as possible. I'll be listening to some of the fan reactions out there on Score North, Purple Daily type of deal. So just kind of that kind of thought process. It's just good to kind of hear what people have to say behind the scenes and such. Cam Akers getting into the end zone, and I feel like $1 million, and we'll talk about that in the fan interaction segment with the Twitter, see if there's any reactions there. But Cam Akers getting in the end zone, that felt like $1 million. It wasn't a receiving touchdown, it was a rushing touchdown. That was awesome. Obviously, later in the game, to put the Vikings up by more. Put the Vikings up by 27-6, as the Bears were still kind of semi-hanging in there after Cairo Santos got the Bears within 6-20 or 20-6. So it's like, it's 2 touchdowns. It's nothing great, but still 13 minutes left. Nudge, nudge to hint, hint. We all saw what happened a couple of weeks ago. So funny things can happen pretty quick. Detroit obviously did not do a really good job with the onside kick, and the timing of it was kind of weird, just a little bit. And we'll talk about that in segment 2. As the Vikings are now tied with Detroit and Philadelphia for the number 1 seed potentially, though we're not. We're actually the 5th seed because we are behind in the tiebreaker with Detroit. So that conversation is over until the Vikings officially control their destiny and beat the Detroit Lions in their house. Won't be easy. Too bad the Vikings couldn't take care of business in our house versus Detroit, as we just about did, but we didn't at the end of the day. We almost did, but we didn't, unfortunately. Again, not a pretty game. Very frustrating. It was nice to see the Vikings kind of pull away as the game progressed. The Bears' offense continued to sputter, even though Caleb Williams was finally able to connect with Keenan Allen for a touchdown. Allen did drop a few gimmies in this game, which was kind of funny and weird at the same time, as the Bears kept shooting themselves in the foot as well, not only with drop passes, but with penalties as well. Like, both teams penalized way too much, though I suppose that's an NFC North matchup type of a thing. I guess it's really nothing new. It's kind of like the old days. You know, you could say it's the old days, Chris Carter and whoever going at it. Warren Moon, Chris Carter, with the completion, the combination and such. You could look at it that way, or even further back, like Anthony Carter back in the late 80s or something, when the Bears were still considered a huge threat. But even in the 90s, the Bears were considered kind of a threat, but you never thought about the Chicago Bears in Super Bowl conversation until 2006. And unfortunately, that faded away pretty quickly once they got there, as Peyton Manning and co. pretty much beat the crap out of the Bears. And I was cheering for the Bears in that game, believe me. I don't know. Why would I cheer for the Colts? I don't know. I would have much rather seen Chicago win that game at the end of the day. And it's kind of funny and amazing when you consider how close those two places are. Indianapolis and Chicago, Indiana, Chicago, it's just kind of like right there, So it is kind of interesting, though, of course, the game was not played in either venue. We all know how the Super Bowl works. DJ Moore had some moments, but I don't know, it didn't turn into a whole lot, unfortunately. 8 catches, 8 targets, only 46 total yards. Again, Keenan Allen, like we said, targeted 13 times. There were some gimme drops that he could have had. He had a touchdown basically in his breadbasket. 13 targets and only 6 catches, but 86 yards, and did have the single touchdown scored by the Bits and the Rhinos. DeAndre Swift, 19 rushes, 79 yards on the ground, and DJ Moore also ran the ball 3 times. There were 3 handoffs to Moore, one way or another, with a long of 9. Okay, a long of 9. Aaron Jones as long as 14. Yeah, that'd be 14, I believe. Don't say, Trey, say, 14, 15. Yeah, that is 14, sorry. And Once for Cam Akers, 11, a long of 11. Other than that, it was 2 yards in a cloud of dust. Though he did get in the end zone for the goal line smash. Congratulations, Cam Akers, getting in the end zone. And again, happy for a guy who had an Achilles on both ankles, both heels, or whatever you'd call it. extremely sad, like right and left. So obviously as a rookie, wasn't it like the first game of his? It was like the first or second game of his career. Gosh, and then he came back for the Super Bowl and played in that game, and they won. Congratulations there, got the win. Kevin O'Connell then came to Minnesota, and all of that. That was back in '01. That's why Cam Akers is still so young, despite the fact he's had 2 Achilles tendons. Because, of course, last year in that win over the Atlanta Falcons, with Josh Dobbs at quarterback, and the Vikings were able to get the win. Was it Desmond Ridder at quarterback, if I'm thinking correctly? Obviously, it wasn't Kirk Cousins yet, and Kirk Cousins wasn't healthy for us anymore either. He had an Achilles the week before. So it was like Kirk Cousins' Achilles, Cam Akers' Achilles number 2, second Achilles for the Vikings, and then, of course, the second for Cam Akers. Really sad. Like, woo-wee. So seeing him get in the end zone, you feel like $1 million. And just seeing him come back to Minnesota, I felt so happy for the whole situation. So obviously I'm a fan, I'm a fan. There's no reason to root against the guy. He's a smooth runner, man. So what more do I need to say about this one? I don't know. I mean, it felt like the Vikings should have pulled away earlier in this one. It was very sloppy. It was definitely not as smooth and that wonderful tasting frosting on a delicious, warm, small, little, cute little cinnamon roll, which is what I think of when I see the white out. It just makes you think of frosting on a beautiful winter day, frosting on a cinnamon roll. I don't know why I think that way, but that's kind of what it felt like a couple of years ago, and I still see that today. And I had one of those today, too, and it just was like, perfect, just perfect. But unfortunately, the weather did not fit the vibe like a couple of years ago. I like the actual white outside as well. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, dang it, not brown. What does a brown Christmas do you? Let's see, nothing. That's right. You can't do anything fun anyway. You can't, so whatever. What are you going to do, go out and play in a dark, cold mist? Ooh, fun. So much fun. You going to go play outside in that? Sure you are. Will Reichert did not miss all of his field goals, including a 52-yarder, and he made all of his extra points. Will Reichert. Great game. Great. And nice to see him back into form, as he did have a doink last week on a 47-yarder. That was kind of sad to see. 52-yarder early on to put the Vikings up 3-0. 31-yard chip shot at the end of the half to put the Vikings up 13-0. Yay. 13-0 at the half. So that's when it's like, my God, can we do anything right? Yeah, schmucks, and then and then there was one more 46-yarder to get that 30 up there, because the Vikings were unable to run the clock down at that stage. But eventually the game finally, mercifully, came to an end for the Bears, and quite frankly for the Vikings as well, because you don't want to see any more injuries. Speaking of injuries, unfortunately, one situation with Brian O'Neill where he ended up going in the tent, looked like he's okay, he's back in there, and then he's back out again. And then you saw Dan Quisenberry out there at the right tackle rather than the left tackle, because, Cam Robinson was healthy, or is he healthy? I don't know what the heck, why he'd have that many penalties. I don't know if he was hurt or simply had a bad game. Because Cam Robinson is better than that. Cam Robinson's a million times better than what he played today. I mean, I'm a fan. That was a great, great, great midseason move, as Detroit is having to kind of pick up the pieces after it's been like 15 injuries for the poor guys, including Montgomery at running back. But it's like, look at us. We lost our left tackle for the season with a pretty nasty injury. Nasty, kind of like a TJ Hawkinson type of an injury, hopefully not as severe. And then, by God's grace, the Vikings were able to acquire Cam Robinson in a trade for not the whole lot. You felt pretty good about that. And then here he is, a starting caliber left tackle. A couple years ago, remember when that stupid guy, what was his name? The one that let us down really bad. And then obviously he was out for the year with the injury. Let us down by just being flat out disappointing even before that. I was such a big fan of his in the draft, too. Matt Khalil, that was his name, goes down with a season-ending injury. And then, you tried to pull off a miracle with Jake Long, just a miracle signing. And then he had another Achilles, after recovering from multiple ACLs throughout his career. And then by like a miracle, Cam Robinson's available. Not like a star, but a starter. Brian O'Neill, thankfully, again, looks like he's probably going to be okay. He did return again later with a knee brace on, so hopefully it's nothing super serious. It is knee related, so a little scary, but if it was anything serious, obviously, there's no chance in bleep he'd be out there. I mean, these trainers have a pretty good idea what the heck they're doing, generally speaking. Sometimes not with head injuries for some damn reason out there, but hopefully teams are getting better about that. Looks like Green Bay had a whiteout as well, those copycats. They were wearing white helmets, too. They were having a whiteout in Green Bay versus a lime green Seattle team. They got those lime green uniforms back again. That's funny, and it was actually in Seattle. Green Bay was just kind of playing a whiteout type of a style. Interesting. Weird-looking game. But that's next week's opponent, and then the week after as well. You got the Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers, and then Detroit, respectively. We'll see if they're wearing their black and blue uniforms in that one, but I doubt it. They probably don't want to wear those anymore this year, considering they lost to Buffalo, and the Vikings are now tied with Detroit, at least in terms of wins and losses. Not in terms of tiebreaker. Detroit owns the tiebreaker because they beat us in U.S. Bank Stadium. Now that I've babbled enough, the Fran Tarkington Award winner for this show, not the easiest thing ever. Darnold was mediocre for the most part, but good enough. Aaron Jones was well above average, one of his better games of the season. Cam Akers simply getting in the end zone makes you feel good. Justin Jefferson, I just don't think he had a Tarkenton type of a week, nor did Jordan Addison like last week. Both of them were just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. TJ Hawkinson didn't absolutely jump out at you either. Reichert was good, but I mean, I think there was more to this game than Will Reichert's kicks, as good as they were. Ty Chandler even had a 30-yard return, which is impressive, actually, very. It's like, all right, able to come out of that end zone and just keep going up to that 30-yard line. That's pretty good. At the end of the day, it had to be on the defensive side of the ball, even though the offense did manage to get 30 points. But, I mean, they were set up pretty nicely by the defense, weren't they? Stopping the Bears on multiple fourth downs and third downs and blah, 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 blah. Josh Metellus had a wonderful game with 10 total tackles. Eight of them were solo. Blake Cashman, 8 total tackles, 7 solo. Blake Cashman had some huge plays, including he was part of that scoop that did not score, but the scoop, he recovered the ball after the strip sack from today's Fran Tarkington Award winner, Jonathan Grenard. 6 total, 3 solo, and the strip sack. Jonathan Grenard pressured and harassed and gave a very hard time, or a hell of a time, to the guy who could have beaten us today if he was given the opportunity to do so. But Jonathan Grenard did a good enough job, along with other defenders. But Grenard was arguably the best overall in terms of pressuring Caleb Williams into not being able to complete his passes in this one. Not nearly as many pass deflections as last week. Kirk Cousins had his pass deflected about 6 or 7 times last week, which is crazy. But Jonathan Grenard will be your Fran Tarkington Award winner. And I will give an honorable mention, or even possibly a co-Fran Tarkington Award, to Aaron Jones. Congratulations, Aaron Jones, being a part of this conversation. Obviously, after all the crap I gave you from the 5 total fumbles, 3 lost this season, which apparently is not part of his career record. Let's just stay away from that conversation. We don't want to hear that ever again. I don't want to hear about fumbling in a playoff game. I just don't. Unless it's like after it's a blowout, but then again, I don't know, like a blowout win. But still, no. Just don't even think about it. You don't want that to even be in the conversation of any kind. The Christian Pond Memorial absolutely has to go to Cam Robinson. I mean, 5 penalties is ridiculous. 5 penalties is a ridiculous number. 3 false starts. It's just, you're just out of sync today. So hopefully Cam Robinson comes out of that, and we don't see a whole lot of that nonsense going forward. Hopefully he doesn't have an issue. He does have penalties from time to time, but offensive guards and tackles, they're going to jump early sometimes. They're going to get called for holding or whatever the heck. Hopefully not a crucial chop block at the worst possible time you could ever imagine. Just don't have chop blocks at all. How about that? I just remember how the Vikings would have some unbelievably frustrating moments in Green Bay with those chop block calls. And it can just kill you. Stupid calls like that can kill you. So hopefully Cam Robinson's done with that, and he'll get rid of those jitters that apparently were hitting him tonight. I'm not sure what the problem was. With that said, we'll take a quick break and jump into all the other games, and of course preview the Seattle Seahawks going into next week. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 2, or duh, or whatever you want to call it, and we will look around the league a bit. Thursday Night Football. Well, this should have been an epic matchup, and it kind of is, and, well, it was a close game, but San Francisco hosting the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday, the 12th of December. I can't believe it's the 17th of December already. What the heck? Good Tuesday morning, right? 12-6 win by the Los Angeles Rams. Good Tuesday morning on WCCO Radio. Bill Lynch with the CBS World News Roundup, or Joey Awajan with the NFL Roundup. Anyhow, week whatever it is. I think it's 14th? Week 14 for some teams, I guess. It's 15 technically. Josh Carty, not Hardy. I used to know a Josh Hardy. Joshua Carty. All you got to do is change the K and the H. 3 field goals. It was a field goal war. 4 field goals, but 3 in a row for Joshua Carty. As Jake Moody made it 3-0. Josh Carty made it 3-3. Jake Moody made it 6-3. And Josh Carty made 3 in a row. And the Rams win 12-6 in one of the most boring games of all time. This should have been a good matchup, though. But it wasn't. Brock Purdy is starting to look like a backup quarterback. Matthew Stafford is starting to look aged. And there's rumors, maybe, is it a rumor or is it just kind of like thoughts? You know, people have thoughts, basically. You know, just thoughts, takes, and this and that. Matthew Stafford retires, and your 2025 quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams is none other than Sam Darnold.
Let your not keep so set. Here I come.
Well, if ultimately the Vikings are going to go with JJ next year, I'm not complaining. I'm not. I want JJ McCarthy to be the quarterback of the future for the Minnesota Vikings. I am not abandoning JJ McCarthy, regardless of how good Sam Darnold appears to be. And that's just kind of how it goes. I feel bad for Darnold because I'm sure he'd like to stay here, but it kind of is what it is. I mean, that was kind of the plan from day one. That doesn't mean that Darnold doesn't have a right to be a wonderful player as well. I do believe JJ McCarthy does have a higher ceiling. But a wonderful situation potentially for Sam Darnold could emerge as quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. Unfortunately, they are in the same conference, and you never know. He might meet up in the playoffs someday, but we'll see what happens. Brock Purdy, boy, I was a big fan. I still kind of am, but he's starting to look like a backup quarterback. Maybe Darnold goes back to San Francisco, and Purdy's the backup, and Darnold's the starter. That's another possibility, because I wouldn't doubt that Darnold, some of his improvements took place kind of behind the scenes last year in San Francisco. I wouldn't doubt it, even though Shanahan is more of a running game type of guy. Obviously, his father absolutely was Mike Shanahan. We all know who that is, right? At least I think so. It's not like Bum Phillips where we're talking 40 years ago or something. This is Mike Shanahan, who was still like a coach of the Broncos in the 2000s and such after winning a couple of Super Bowls there with a guy by the name of John Elway and Terrell Davis. Pretty awesome football team. Very much so. The 49ers are toast, unfortunately, and the Rams very much alive. First place in the NFC West. We'll see how that turns out. 49ers down to 6-8, and Purdy not even close to what he once was. And let's not forget the Rams beat the Vikings. So that's kind of scary still to me a little bit. It's crazy because Stafford had one of the best games of his career, and it's been a long career, but not last week. Wasn't that bad though. It's just average. I kind of hope Stafford does retire, honestly, and I think he should. I'd be happy for Darnold if he got to be quarterback of the Rams. Then kind of everybody's happy. You know what I mean? We get J.J. McCarthy, and then we have our placeholder, potentially, or at least a good backup, and a guy by the name of DJ, Daniel Jones. Not Dennis Johnson, point guard of the Celtics in the 80s, but Daniel Jones. Kansas City Chiefs, Yuck City Chiefs. Well, we have an ankle injury for a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes. You maybe heard of him. I'm not a big fan necessarily, but good for him. Carson Wentz quarterbacked the Chiefs for a little bit. Yeah, and there's all kinds of satire out there about, oh boy, he's out for the year. Mahomes is done. Yeah, sure he is. That'd be all over every news conglomerate possible, basically. Didn't have a particularly good game because the Browns' defense is pretty good. But Jameis Winston threw 3 interceptions. And then DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, one of the worst backup quarterbacks you ever saw, threw an interception as well. 4 of 9. So 4 interceptions thrown and a fumble lost by Nick Chubb. 5 bleeping turnovers by Cleveland. It's like, just try Try. Can you please try? Kansas City only managed 21 points. Try, Cleveland. Come on, try. Damn it. Anyways, as Kansas City's 13-1. God. Kansas City, I swear, the way things appear, it looks like the Gophers could beat them on some days. Yet nobody beats them. Like, you could play like dog dookie, and you play like dog dookie, they play like dog dookie, and then they still win, and da-da-da. It's just every dang time. Mahomes had 2 touchdowns, but his overall efficiency was not there. And again, Carson Wentz completed 2 passes for 20 yards. Carson Wentz, the backup quarterback of the Chiefs. Crazy. You can remember how Wentz had the knee injury. Nick Folk took over. Foles, not Folk, that's a kicker. Nick Foles took over, Mr. Super Efficient, years ago with the Rams and the Eagles. And the rest was history. Yeah. Oh, I felt so bad for Eagles fans. Remember, I actually felt bad for them. Like, man, they lost their quarterback of the future. Now it's backup, but I guess you never know. Yeah, they still won the Super Bowl anyway. In fact, they probably would have less likely won. Maybe the Vikings would have beaten Carson Wentz in an NFC Championship game. It would have helped having home field, as well. But Vikings home field, historically, we always seem to manage to blow it by losing a game we're not supposed to lose. The Arizona or Carolina or both of them. I'm not bitter at all about that. But yes, the Chiefs won again, and they're 13-1. Jeez. Cincinnati, too little too late and against a bad team. Bad team, sorry, I know. It's in Tennessee. And I guess there was a scene where Zach Taylor, maybe future Browns coach, we'll see, was kind of chatting with Joe Burrow, and Burrow was basically like, F that, we're playing like bleep, or playing like crap, basically. Something along those lines, paraphrasing. This is terrible. Yeah, it was something along those lines. Burrow threw 2 interceptions, 3 touchdowns. He's having a great season, generally speaking, but the Bengals can't stop their grandmother. They could use Brian Flores' help, just like the Vikings could use Brian Flores' help when... we had the worst defense basically, but still had what was our record? 13-4, kind of like more equivalent to the 12-4 team. Wow, that's Jake Reed and Chris Carter. Cool, they look kind of old. Yep, but that was what was on last night. Yes, there they are. Yep, I know. I'm just teasing them. I shouldn't say that. And yes, they are celebrating Randy Moss. Yes, and I still haven't talked about that, and I apologize. Should I talk about it right now, really quick? Might as well. So, yes, apparently Randy Moss, with potentially life-threatening condition here, with it's a combination in between the pancreas and the liver. The cancer was surgically removed, but he still has to take chemotherapy. He's not out of the woods yet. Randy Moss's quote was, "I'm a cancer survivor," and basically, they got to it, So, yes, that was another topic. My brain's giving me something else about, I don't know if that's the Lord talking to me or what right now, but freedom of thought conversation that I didn't get to. We'll get to that on a second, maybe a future episode coming up about stuff like that. But other people that, had cancer, including Moss, though, now. And it's definitely something that's, a very serious situation that deserves, it deserves care. It deserves our thoughts and prayers, of course. And I know that sounds cliche, but I mean that in sincerity. I haven't said the nicest things about Randy Moss in this show, but obviously in the past he didn't say the nicest things to people in this town either. But this is where we kind of set aside our differences at the end of the day, and pray and wish Randy Moss the absolute best. Absolute best. So, absolutely keep Randy Moss in your prayers. Absolutely glad to know that they got the current danger, the what do they call that? The clear and present danger. It was like it's like right in between the liver and the pancreas. It's just like, man, just frightening. But able to get to that. It was a surgical procedure that took really several hours. I forget what they call it though. It's different. It's not. I believe it's laser related. It's obviously not like going in with a razor. It's more like laser related, like higher tech, and it kind of does warrant that type of thing. Laser precision, you do need that type of technology because it's just you have to. It's like you have to be so careful with something like that. And obviously, like it's the scariest type of situation you can imagine. So, yeah, it shook me up a little bit when I thought, when you heard about that. And it's not about me at all. It's about Randy Moss, 1,000,000%. It shook him up. I mean, it shook Randy Moss up. That's what matters the most. Because, like, you think you're healthy, you're fine. He probably is a healthy son of a gun. He definitely looks healthy. Healthy, strong guy, obviously on the television set, and all of a sudden it's like, something's not right here. And I gotta go, guys. Something's not right, and it's like, yeah, it's scary to think about. No doubt. So, again, keep Randy Moss definitely in your prayers, thoughts and prayers, of course. So, anyhow, how we transition back, well, Will Levis threw 3 interceptions in the game. Another 5 turnover game. This is the Tennessee Titans, 5 freaking turnovers in the game. Chase Brown was able to rush one in. Good for him, I suppose. That's the running back of the Bengals. Pollard was able to run one in, but also lost a fumble. Okay, there's 6 turnovers in the game. Will Levis lost a fumble after throwing 3 interceptions. It's just unbelievable. 6 turnovers by, what an awful game. Tennessee. Cincinnati still managing to score 37 points. Good for them. The offense is there, the defense is not, bottom line. Cincinnati is 6-8. They're actually kind of semi still in it. Tennessee is long gone. They are they're a corpse. 3-11 on the season. We'll move on. Washington Commanders with a much needed win and barely beat a below average New Orleans Saints team who's now 5-9. They beat them by a point. But in the Caesars Superdome, so I suppose that's kind of how that goes. Pardon the rhyme. A guy by the name of Jaden Daniels, pretty good game, very efficient, did not have a turnover, congratulations. And a guy named Terry McLaurin, 7 catches, 73 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, 11 rushes for 66 yards, but also 226 yards in the air. Extremely efficient, 25 of 31. That's awesome. 2 touchdowns thrown by Jaden Daniels. He is one of the futures of this league, no doubt about that. No doubt. Awesome. Spencer Rattler, one of those, one of those you're settling for type of draft picks. Like, okay, we got to draft some quarterback here. Rattler was kind of after all the major players, like Jaden Daniels is one of them, of course, McCarthy, so on and so forth. Then there was Spencer Rattler, he was like the 6th or 7th quarterback. Well, he threw about 50%, 10 of 21, 135, a touchdown, yay. But there's that. Cedric Wilson also on one of those cute plays, a perfect quarterback rating because there was 1 pass and it was a touchdown. So good for him. Cedric Wilson Jr., good job, I suppose. Scandling also with 64 yards on just 2 catches. Crazy. Alvin Kamara only 5 rushes. Interesting. Weird football game, but lots of sacks. Jaden Daniels was sacked a lot. Somebody that mobile? What the heck? New Orleans defense is crazy good. Like, look at the sacks in this game. Look at this pass rush. Cameron Jordan, the son of Steve. Great player. 2 sacks. Demario Davis, a sack. Ugo Amadi, a sack. Carl Granderson. I don't believe there's any relation to the baseball player. A sack. Former baseball player now. Chase Young, 2 sacks. Willie Gay Jr., a sack. Holy smokes. That's crazy stuff. That's a lot of sacks, guys. Guys and gals and guys. Jaden Daniels was sacked 8 times in the game. Kind of like Joe Burrow years ago with that terrible offensive line. Yet still was efficient as he was. That says a lot about Jaden Daniels. 8 sacks. So that's the main reason why the game was so damn close. The pass rush right in New Orleans was not a joke. We'll continue. Baltimore versus New York. Rematch of one of the most lopsided, stupid Super Bowls in the history of the planet. And the Vikings, because they blew an opportunity for home field advantage by losing the last 4 frickin' games in 2000. I'm not bitter at all about that. Oh, no, not at all. Including getting throttled by the Packers in the Metrodome. I just love that. Oh, boy, it made you feel good on the inside. Like, welcome to Christmas, everybody. Boom. It was just, yeah, come on, guys. Can't you protect your home field once in a while? Of course not. Couldn't even do it versus the Falcons in 98 or, January 99. 35-14. The Ravens win another Okay, not really. The Giants dropped to 2-12. Not much to say about the Giants. They are in whatever they are. They're beyond rebuilding. They are they're starting over from scratch. They're not just rebuilding. It's over. Anyhow, it's beyond over. Malik Neighbors, okay, they have at least one piece to work around. One, and he's a receiver. 10 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. By far, Mr. Giant there. Lamar Jackson with 5 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Had only 4 incompletions out of 25 attempts. Insanely fun game for him. Rashad Bateman, former Gopher. 3 catches, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Might have been a nice pickup to get your team into the postseason, or if it was wild card week, or whatever you'd call it in a fantasy world. We'll stay off of that conversation. But the Baltimore Ravens win comfortably, are 9-5, 35-14. 35-14. Carolina and Dallas, former NFC Championship game in 2000. What year was this? My brain's stopping. When did the Carolina Panthers? Oh, okay. They beat the Cowboys in the conference final. It wasn't the NFC Championship. They beat them in the conference final. They beat them in the conference final, NFC. They beat them in the wild card round, and then Carolina got beat by Green Bay, and they went on to win the Super Bowl over the New England Patriots. This was '96 when somebody finally dethroned the stupid Cowboys after the Cowboys crushed the Vikings in the first round that year. And a guy by the name of Orlando Thomas had a terrible ACL injury in that game. It was too bad. Never the same again. Man, he was promising. Bryce Young with 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. Cooper Rush, remember him? 29 attempts, 11 completions, 3 touchdowns. Must be Halloween. Oh, wait. We'll stay off of that one. CeeDee Lamb, great game. Again, he had some neck issues around Thanksgiving. 116 yards on 9 catches and a touchdown. Rico Dowdle, 25 rushes, 149 yards. Carolina couldn't do jack against him in the game. Ezekiel Elliott is still alive, barely. What did he have? 1 rush? No, 1 catch, 11 yards. Interesting. He ran the ball 9 times for 30 yards. Exquisite. Are you ready for the longest run he had in the day? 5 yards. It's awesome. Just awesome. Didn't Thielen have a few catches? Yes, 5 catches, 51 yards. A guy named Jalen Coker with 4 catches and 110 yards and a touchdown along the way as well. Dallas wins comfortably and is still alive, kind of, sort of, 30-14. Don't count on them. Carolina is 3-11. But yeah, well, whatever. We'll get off that. No one cares about those 2 teams right now. New York Jets and Jacksonville. This might have been an interesting game. Well, I don't know. Might have been. I don't know. I guess. Mac Jones, another 2 interceptions. Interception machine. 46 attempts because they're playing from behind versus the Jets. Playing behind versus the Jets. Excuse me. 9 catches, 198 yards. You heard that correctly. 198 yards for Davante Adams. Turn back the clock. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. Sounds like a Packer game. 2 touchdowns with 9 catches, 198 yards. Aaron Rodgers with 289 yards passing. So well over half of the yards completed to Davante Adams. Garrett Wilson also adding a touchdown along the way. Breece Hall, he was okay. It's average, but he did get in the end zone once on a run. Good for him. Continue. Aaron Rodgers, 3 touchdowns. Nice game. Jets win. 32-25. 4-10 on the season. Say whatever you want about Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, good numbers and all that, but probably should just move on. I know it's not worth it anymore. Sometimes you just should move on, not because you suck or anything, but because you just should move on. I don't know. It just is what it is. Dolphins can't beat the Houston Texans. They only managed 12 lousy points. Tua, who had been unbelievable since coming back from the injury earlier this year. I think it was another concussion, wasn't it? I think it was. Good Lord. Well, this game did not work out at all. That Houston defense, a hell of a lot better than it was against the Vikings. 3 interceptions by Tua. Gosh, it's usually the opposite. 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions here. Only 1 touchdown. I don't know, but they're taking chances, trying to do something, because nothing was working. Houston defense was strong. C.J. Stroud, only 131 yards, but did throw 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon, also kind of multifaceted, but nothing all that exciting. The Miami defense is pretty good, too. Only 2 yards a carry. By Joe Mixon. Yikes. Tyreek Hill. Only 2 catches. Man, no peace sign for him. Maybe they're gonna say peace to him at the end of the year instead. Peace, Tyreek, peace. Like, bye. 20-12 is your final score. The Houston Texans winning the AFC South, believe it or not. And Miami drops to 6-8 because they started so horribly after the Tua injury. Unfortunately. Colts and Denver Broncos, the Manning Bowl, the Peyton Manning Bowl, I guess. Wasn't this a significant playoff game years ago? But either way, it sounds like it. Probably was. The Peyton Manning Bowl, up 31-13. Denver does the reciprocal deal here. It's a reciprocal kind of game. Bo Nix, 3 interceptions. 3. Anthony Richardson, 2 interceptions. Anthony Richardson's quarterback rating, are you ready? 36.3. 17 of 38. Jonathan Taylor was doing well, and then he fumbled the ball. And I remember people were mad at him about what he did there. Just a dumb mistake. I don't know what to tell you. That's Jonathan Taylor, 107 yards on the ground, 5 yards a carry. But as some people might say, it just didn't work out, you know. Anthony Richardson did run the ball in, but who wants to sign him as a fantasy player? He might be your third stringer or something. Emergency signing. Oh, what the heck. Let's see what happens. Yeah, he's a mess. Too much. He's just not accurate. Bottom line. Bo Nix, who was accurate, 3 INTs. 3. But he did throw 3 touchdowns. 1 to Cortland Sutton, 1 to Adam Trotman, and 1 to Nate Adkins. Nobody really stood out in this game at all. Just the 3 touchdowns by Bo Nix, I guess. Yeah, nobody really stood out in that game. Just the Broncos won pretty handily. 9-5 and probably going to make the playoffs. Stay off of this one. You get the Pennsylvania Bowl. This was a Super Bowl once upon a time, and of course the Steelers won because Philadelphia doesn't win Super Bowls unless it's after beating the Vikings in the NFC title game, I guess. Just that one dang time. The Eagles are 12-2. They beat the Steelers pretty comfortably, 27-13. Steelers kind of reality sitting in a teeny bit. Yeah, they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to do much. They might get out of the first round. That's it. NFC North leaders right now. NFC East leaders in Philadelphia. Yes, this one was in, what's it called? Is it still called CenturyLink? No, it's Lincoln Financial. Sorry, what am I talking about? Kind of got to catch up here. Jalen Hurts, yeah, actually threw the ball in this game. You know, sometimes it's like 11 attempts or something, or 11 completions, 20 attempts, something like that, and a touchdown. But better game by him, no doubt about that. And he also ran the ball in, but did fumble the ball. Did Jalen Hurts. He fumbled the ball. Saquon Barkley kind of down to earth here in this one, as Pittsburgh is known for defense pretty much most of their history. Though the latter stages of Big Ben's career, Pittsburgh's defense was down and their offense was off the charts. Because, yeah, I don't know, it just was. Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, but he did lose a fumble. Shocking. Always something, right? Hopefully, if the Vikings play them in the postseason, hopefully Hurts is a Mets. And the Vikings get to the bowl one way or another. But there's a real chance the Vikings could get to the bowl. But I'm not counting on it. Nah, just let it happen, okay? A.J. Brown, 8 catches, 110 yards. Devonta Smith, 11 catches, 109 yards. Both of them also got in the end zone. Saquon Barkley, only 65 yards on the ground. Only, right? Still would be averaging 1,000 yards a season, but possible future MVP here. Definitely brought down to earth a bit. Versus the Steelers. TJ Watt with, 2 sacks in the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Isn't that cute? TJ Watt. Isn't that cute? 27-13. Eagles 12-2 as the Vikings won home field advantage in the NFC. It's gonna be interesting. I don't want to go to Philadelphia again. I just don't want to go to Philadelphia again. You know what the Vikings' record is against the Eagles in the playoffs? 0-4. I don't want to play the Eagles in the playoffs. Damn it. But I guess if you're going to end a curse, you got to do it against the teams that, kind of were a part of it. Like, say, the Chiefs winning through the Super Bowl 4 against the Vikings when the Vikings were 18-point favorites. Against the Eagles team that the Vikings never beat in the playoffs. You know, like when the Red Sox never could beat the Yankees for like 100 years and then they finally did. In the most unlikely fashion, trailing 3-0. Yeah, I always bring it up because that's kind of what it's going to take for the Vikings, I think, to finally end the drought. It's going to take something crazy. Like, we never beat the Eagles, blankety blank, and then we kick their butts in a playoff game or whatever, go to the Super Bowl. Oh, my God. The Chiefs are like the dynasty of football, and they are the team that started all this 50-plus years ago, and the Vikings beat them. You know, that's kind of what it's going to take, I think, to end the drought. It's going to take something wild, unless it's some kind of just miracle, easy matchup. Like when the Broncos just went belly up versus Seattle. That's how the Seahawks finally won a Super Bowl. Because the Patriots, a lot of people will tell you the Seahawks should have beat the Patriots. The Patriots were the better team. Come on. Patriots were the better team, and they almost blew it. That's kind of how I look at that one. Oh, boy. Speaking of the Patriots, let's move. I'm taking way too long. I apologize. I get way too wordy. Arizona 30, New England 17. Is there much to say in this one? Not really. Arizona's 7-7, third place in the NFC West. I'm taking way too long. Kyler Murray, 224 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. James Conner ran the ball in twice, 110 yards on the ground, 7 yards a carry. Awesome game. Drake May with his usual touchdown and interception, but 200 yards, not bad. Not bad and very efficient, only 4 incompletions. So definitely not like Anthony Richardson where it's a damn mess. But the Arizona Cardinals win comfortably, 30-17. Let's move. Let's move. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers win very comfortably over the Los Angeles Chargers in SoFi Stadium. What the hell? Okay. Baker Mayfield with 4 touchdowns. Wow. 4 touchdowns for Baker Mayfield, and of course your grape jelly stain like always. You get 1 interception. Insanely efficient though. 22 of 27, quarterback rating of 135.3. Great game. Mike Evans with 2 touchdowns, future Hall of Famer, I believe, right? 9 catches, 159 yards. Bucky Irving, old Bucky himself. 15 runs by Bucky, 15 runs by Rachaad White. Bucky was the better one, 117 on the ground. Woo! 64 by Rachaad White, but still respectable. But he lost a fumble. Damn it. Herbert, mediocre at best. 2 touchdowns and interception, 195 yards and 33 attempts. Wahoo. Wahoo. I'm Mr. Blue if I'm playing in Los Angeles Charger land. I'm Mr. Blue. Wahoo, wahoo. 40-17. Oof. Ugh. Ugh. Great football. Are you ready for some just classic, great Monday Night Football action? Well, we talked about the Vikings versus the Bears. That wasn't great quality, but it was gold standard stuff compared to this. 15-9. The Falcons versus the Raiders. Oh, my God. Oh. I think the Raiders are the worst team in the league. I think they're the worst. I don't think anybody's worse than the Raiders. I think the Brown Bags could beat the Raiders. Brown Bags could beat the Raiders, even if they're 50 interceptions. Oh, my God. Desmond Ridder. Didn't he play for the Falcons last year? That's who I'm thinking about. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Blech. That's why Josh Dobbs beat them last year. Josh Dobbs. Yeah, with a sugar high, Kevin O'Connell, that type of thing. Ugh. God, the Raiders suck. I mean, it was just... What about this game told you this is good football? Anyone? Cousins, 11 completions out of 17 attempts, 112 yards. Just exquisite. Okay, one thing that told you this is good stuff? Bijan Robinson, 22 rushes, 125 yards, but he didn't get in the end zone. 15-9. What is going on? 15-9. And Koo missed a field goal by like 50 miles. It was horse bleep. And even Daniel Carlson missed an extra point. Daniel Carlson? Come on, man. You saw the game. Sorry, Dan. That's it. You missed an extra point. You saw the game. Saw the game, Daniel. That's it. Maybe he'll come back to... No, we're fine. Younghoe Koo is actually one of the better kickers, but my God, one of those kicks was hilarious. It was funny. It was an air ball. Crap game. Let's go. Let's move. I'm 5 seconds of that game conversation is like, Joey, shut up, move on. The whiteout Packers in Seattle, they wore white helmets. That looked really weird. And that's next week's opponent. And I'm not supposed to talk about that yet. Oops. Well, the Vikings played the Bears, so that's the other one. Detroit versus Buffalo, one of the most epic games of the season. Awesome football game. This was good stuff. Very good stuff. And Ford Field, back and forth. Great football game, but Buffalo did look like the better team the whole game, to be quite honest, and Jared Goff did throw 5 touchdowns, almost 500 yards. Oh, my God. It's like Rams versus Chiefs. Remember that game years ago? I think it was at Sunday, or I think it was a Monday Night Football game. cinnamon tea. Cinnamon tea. Highly recommended. It's surprisingly good. Jared Goff. Okay, so David Montgomery talking about season-ending surgeries and stuff. Another one. Yep, another injury for the Detroit Lions, and I'm not celebrating it. I'm not like, yaha, another injury, because people that do that are really dumb. That's mean. Well, they still have Jahmyr Gibbs, but he only had 8 rushes in the game, 31 yards, because they were trying to play from behind and catch up, and Goff was insanely good for the most part. He did not turn the ball over once. Amon-Ra St. Brown did have a fumble. Stupid son of a gun. 14 catches and 193 yards. Sam Laporta, 7 catches, 111 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs received a touchdown, also at 83 yards, despite the mediocre rushing. They utilized him in the passing game. Jamison Williams, with also a touchdown on 37 yards. David Montgomery, again, season-ending surgery for David Montgomery, so that's kind of devastating. The former Bear. You have Gibbs with the speed. It's the old Thunder Lightning thing. You change it up. You get the power guy, and then you have the speed, athletic son of a gun like Jahmyr Gibbs, who tore the Vikings a new one the last time we played. Josh Allen with 2 touchdowns, but he also ran into a lot of people saying he's pretty much cementing his MVP bid here, that he's going to get it this year. It's not going to be Mahomes, so it probably is going to be Josh Allen. And it'd be nice to see the Bills beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, because they haven't done that yet. They just haven't. Ty Johnson with 5 catches, 114 yards. But importantly, in a lot of ways, Detroit has about 500 injuries. Like, one guy after another. Another player was carted off in the game. It's just was of the safety. Carted off. Secondary, anyway. Carted off in the game. I think he's out for the year, if I remember correctly. Or was it an MCL? Yes, it was an MCL, where he could return for the... he could return potentially for maybe the divisional round, if they survive that long. But Detroit, they're talented enough. They should be able to still be way up there. But I think their chances of winning the Super Bowl now are way down, because too many injuries. They're starting to remind me, like, remember the 98 Vikings? We had a lot of injuries too. Like, a lot of people thought the Broncos would have killed us, because there was a lot of injuries in that stupid NFC title game. And along the way, like even John Randall with that hyperextended knee, late in the Arizona game when the Vikings were way ahead. Well, they were ahead enough that there was no reason to have him out there. Thanks a lot. It did not help. That's why there was no pass rush on Chris Chandler. Detroit's defense is just completely debilitated. One guy after another, injuries, and that's why you see Buffalo with 48 points in Ford Field. Detroit had a pretty good defense last time we played them, remember? That was it's like, and then it all started with Aiden Hutchinson being out for the year. One of the absolute best defensive linemen in the league. Absolute top 5 defensive linemen in football out for the season. But man, they're still got it. They're still good, and look at that. They still even have a pass rush. Not now. I mean, how many sacks did Detroit have? Zero. That's right. 0. So Detroit's chances of going to the Super Bowl, much less winning it, are very slim now. Even with Patrick Mahomes having the ankle injury, even if he's cobbling, even if he's still gimpy in the Super Bowl, if they get that far, hopefully they don't, because I'm sick of them. But the way they're going, they might win 7 in a row, all by about 2 or 3 points, and throwing 5 interceptions in the game. They'll still win the stupid thing by some miracle. Ugh, that's why I got sick of the Seahawks and their stupid miracles too. Got so annoying. And then a certain guy getting all overly emotional every time. It's like, yeah, okay, dude. Okay, dude. Yeah, that was a certain quarterback. We'll move off that. 48-42, though. Detroit 12-2. A real chance for the Vikings to win the division and possibly get home field. Wouldn't you just know the Eagles haven't lost in September? Detroit hadn't lost in September either, if I remember correctly. Weren't they 1-1? And it's like, oh, the Lions aren't that good this year. Man, they lost to Tampa. Man, that's the team they beat in the playoffs. They don't look that good. And then then after that, they won every game since. They won 11 in a row. 11 in a row. Well, Philadelphia looked like dog crap too, and they haven't lost since either. Weren't they like 2-2 or something? And it's like, oh god, that coach, he's gonna get fired. What's his name? Sirianni. Everyone hates him, and he's the biggest clown ever. He's a troll. Blah blah blah. And then they've won like 10 in a row. So I'm not sleeping on Philadelphia, not by one margin. And I'm not sleeping on Detroit either, obviously. Like, the offense is still insanely dangerous. Insanely dangerous. Goff is having, he might be a legitimate candidate for the MVP too, but it's probably going to go to Josh Allen, I'm guessing. If Buffalo didn't lose what did they lose? Like they had like a disappointing loss just a few weeks ago. They'd be 12-2 right now. Think about that. So they'd have a real shot at home field, but they're going to have to go to Arrowhead probably if they're going to advance to the Super Bowl for their 5th opportunity. Wouldn't that be something if it's Vikings and Buffalo in the Super Bowl? Oh boy, you do not want to be that team. You do not want to be the team that comes up short in that game. You just don't. Anyhow, Detroit, 12-2, and a real chance of the Vikings to win the division, but we have to beat Detroit in Detroit. Well, if Buffalo can do it, we can. Maybe. We're 12-2, so maybe we can. Hopefully. Vikings and Packers are next week. Week after next, anyway. Seattle's the upcoming team. We've had a lot of history with them. Some good, mostly not good, unfortunately. 30-13 comfortable win by the Green Bay Packers, wearing white helmets. Wow, white helmets in Seattle. That's Lumen Field. It's illuminating. All right, man, I'm already 1 hour in. Sorry, babbling too much like always. 30-13, though, comfortable win by the Packers. Hopefully the Vikings can do the same thing. Apparently Geno Smith is injured, and Sam Howell, 5 of 14. 5 of 14. So possibly the Vikings might get Sam Howell, which should be a 30-13 type of win on our side as well. Josh Jacobs did lose a fumble, did get in the end zone once. Jordan Love with no interceptions and no fumbles. Congratulations, Jordan Love, not turning the ball over. 20 of 27, 229 yards. Geno Smith, though, see, that changes everything. If it's Geno Smith, they're a threat. If it's not Geno Smith, they're not a threat. It's that simple. Geno Smith's situation is hard to say. Seattle Sea Chickens. Yeah, it's a groin injury. Okay, yeah, that can be debilitating. 3,623 yards, 14 touchdowns. And yes, what's nice is these are up-to-date statistics. That's the one good thing about Monday Night Football, and then you record the next day. 14 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Geno's definitely not as good as he was 2 years ago. 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's a great season. Awesome. Last year's still good, 20-9. That's good, solid. But 30 and 11, that is an absolute like star type of year. That's like right now, like a guy by the name of Sam Darnold. But Darnold looks like he's going to throw 35 touchdowns probably this year. Maybe 11, 12, 13 interceptions. But that's, superstar numbers. There's just no doubt. Geno Smith played for the Chargers, huh? I don't remember that, but maybe I do. It was very short. Started with the Jets, then the Giants. Ugh, the Jets. Yeah, nobody does well there. 21 interceptions as a rookie. Yuck. Geno Smith, what is he? He's in his 30s now. Yeah, 34. Dang. He's not having a great season. Seattle's kind of all over the place. They have some good players. Obviously, the Packers, I don't think they're going to catch the Vikings, but I suppose by one ridiculously stupid there's always a ridiculously stupid possibility of them catching the Vikings, but let's not even go there. Let's just try to stay off of that conversation. If possible, I would sure like to see the preview or whatever section here. Or it's not really a preview, but it's kind of like, doggone it, I had it and I lost it. Okay, all I had to do is push a button or two. 2 buttons. They're 8-6, just like the Rams. Technically, the Rams are ahead of the Sea Schmucks, and again, they got absolutely obliterated by Green Bay after winning 3 games in a row. Absolutely killed. Why did I do that? I clicked on the Packer game again. Idiota. This one is on Sunday at Lumen Field. I think this is a nooner, isn't it? Sunday, the 22nd of December. Nope, 3:05. That's the second group, so it's one of those late. I was getting it mixed up. So there's one. 3:05. That's all you need to know. 3:05. I'm looking at Seattle's schedule. How stupid. Vikings are 8th in points. Seattle is 14th. Again, this is all updated, which is great. Total yards, Vikings are 12th. Seattle's 15th. Passing yards, Vikings are 8th. Seattle's 5th. Really? Okay. Interesting. Rushing yards, Vikings. Geno does have 3,600 yards, though. 15th in rushing per game. Seattle's 28th. Time of possession, Vikings are 13th. Seattle is 24th. Points against, Vikings only allow 18 points a game. That's fourth in the league. Seattle 22.4, 15th. Total yards, Vikings are 13th. Total yards against, Seattle is 19th. This is against. Pass yards against, Vikings allow almost 245. 29th in the league. Seattle is 13th. Interesting. And rush yards against, the Vikings are second. I do believe that is because the Vikings have been ahead, other teams have been passing against them. That's why it's so lopsided, pass versus rush. Like 29th and second, hello. It's because we're ahead all the time. Not because our rush defense is so great and our pass defense is so terrible. No, it's balanced in there somewhere. Because our rush defense isn't always that good. Like, okay, here we go. There we go. Brought him down. 3-yard loss. Oh, and he just gained 13 yards. First down. Great. Well, that didn't work out. Seattle's 22nd in rush yards against 127 a game. Expect to see Aaron Jones again. Vikings, 41 sacks on the year. That's fourth in the league. 21st in sacks in Seattle with 31. Number one team in the league in interceptions, the Vikings. That's right, 20. Seattle has 11 so far and are 13th in the league. Seattle had won 4 in a row. 4 in a row. Vikings have won quite a few in a row. Yes, we have. Yep, going back to the Rams game on October 4th, that would make it 7 consecutive wins for the Vikings. If we finish off the season like that, that'd be wonderful. I think we'd all be very happy. Geno Smith, 36-23 in the air. Kenneth Walker III with 7 touchdowns. That's the running back, of course. 542 yards there. Jackson Smith, I don't know. I can't pronounce that. I don't want to say anything wrong. 85 catches. Pretty impressive. 194 yards and 5 touchdowns. Jets, Justin Jefferson, 82 catches, 1,243 yards and 8 touchdowns along the way. Stephon Gilmore, questionable with a hamstring, coming into Seattle. Interesting. Alu Watimi, questionable with the knee. That's the center of Seattle. Trey Brown, cornerback, out, hamstring. I don't know if this is last week though. You know what I mean? Because they haven't updated the injury report. This is last week. Jarek Reed, the second, out with a quad. Yeah. So again, we'll see what happens with the questionables. The injury report going in. So hopefully Brian O'Neill will be okay at the right tackle position. I do believe the Vikings win the game because Geno Smith obviously will be on the injury report. He'll probably be doubtful. That's my guess. That's just my prognostication right now. My crystal ball, so to speak, on Geno Smith. Doubtful. I don't think they're going to say out. They'll say doubtful, and then it'll ultimately be out. That's just my guess. I'm thinking they're going to probably say questionable with Brian O'Neill, but he will play. Stephon Gilmore, maybe you leave him out one more game just to let him heal. Hamstring injuries are kind of nagging, that type of thing. You don't want it to get worse. Yeah, and obviously the groin type of thing with Geno Smith. I don't know. I mean, their playoff hopes are kind of on the line in this one. It's not season ending if they lose, but kind of. I mean, you put in Sam Howell, that's pretty much a scheduled loss if you're a Seahawk. So kind of. Sam Darnold, 29 touchdowns, 11 interceptions on la saison. Yes, I do believe that's updated. Yeah, it's updated. Quarterback rating of 104.9. Awesome. 3,530 yards. He will get to 4,000. God willing. God willing. Staying healthy and all that. Please stay healthy, Sam, if possible. Vikings will win the football game. Final score along the likes of, I think we scored some points in this one. I hope. As weird as our offense is at times. Yeah, I think it's going to be something kind of similar to this Bears game, like 30-12, 30-13. 30-17 Vikings will beat the Seahawks. Let's look at I had it up and I lost it. Oh man, I forgot everything when the computer crashed. I forgot to I apologize for this. So I know our record is not good. What are we, 13 and they're 13-6 versus us historically. Yeah, 13-6. Ugh, 0 ties. Dating back to 1976, as the Seahawks are not one of the super old franchise, but 76 is almost 50 years ago. Vikings did win in the Met, 27-21 in our first ever matchup on November 14th. Vikings then lost 3 in a row as they were getting kind of older and crappier. But say the 87 Vikings were good, though. But that was a funny part of the year. I believe that might have been during the strike. Also lost in 84, which we lost every game that year pretty much. It's been a tough history. We didn't play Seattle all that much. It's like every 3 years and then a 6-year gap from 90 to 96. I remember thinking, gosh, we never play the Seahawks. We never play the Seahawks. Then we got absolutely slaughtered by the Seahawks in 96. They were 42 to 23. I remember thinking, like, what the hell? Like, what happened here? Like, why are we that bad? And why is this ad blocking the way? That's rude. Let me push the button, please. I wanted to look at that one for like 10 seconds. There's the ads in the way. Yeah, stupid. Yeah, huge gaps. There's 6, a couple of awful losses in a row. Yeah, because I started watching the Vikings full time in 92. And it's like, gosh, we never play Seattle. What the heck? That's weird. Okay, I never want to play Seattle again. This is in the Kingdome, and we used to play in the same place as the Seattle Mariners. Moon, the future Seahawk, with an interception, or 2 interceptions and a touchdown, and this guy named John Freeze. What the heck, John? Oh, yeah, I do remember him a little bit. Couple touchdowns, Scotty Graham, 9 bleeping yards, because we were behind the whole game. Lamar Smith, remember that guy? 90 yards. Chris Warren, the former cowboy. He got tired of being on the, he got tired of playing behind Emmitt Smith. Went to Seattle. Yep, wow, they ran all over. Oh, my God. How many yards? Like over 200 yards rushing against the Vikings. About 210 yards. Chris Carter did have a great game. 142 yards and 7 catches. Joey Galloway, remember that guy? Really great player. Ricky Prohl, wow. They were all over us. Gosh, they had so many yards in this game. They just smoked us 42 to 23. And I never wanted to play the Seahawks the rest of my life. Because the Vikings got killed. Mike Tice is returning to Seattle. It was embarrassing, 48 to 23. I don't think it was even a good Seahawks team. But they got good in a couple of years and got killed by the Steelers in the Super Bowl. Vikings had lost every year at Seattle. Lost. 2012, lost. 2013 at Seattle, lost. Yeah, all of a sudden we're playing Seattle every year. Then we hosted them. Everything's going to be okay. Harrison Smith's hurt, 38 to 7. Wow. And then we had the 3 deadly sin type of thing. Although the fumble, the terrible coverage by Josh. Was it Josh Robinson? And and then the missed kick by Blair Walsh, 10 to 9. That was the only playoff game versus Seattle historically. Terrible. And then we lost again in 2018 at Seattle. And then the next year, at Seattle, lost. And then the next year, at Seattle, lost. It's like weird. All of a sudden, we're playing at Seattle every year and lost them all. And then we hosted them in 2021. Terrible Viking team. And we won 30 to 17. We finally ended that losing streak. It was a 7-game losing streak. And that's the last time the Vikings played the Seattle Seahawks. Here we are now playing them 3 years later. And the Vikings will win 30 to 17. I expect Aaron Jones to get in the end zone and get to at least 90 yards. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Cam Akers get to 40 yards on the ground. That's not too spectacular of a stat, but you got to give him the ball once in a while too. But the Vikings win. With that said, I've babbled too much. Fan interaction now. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 3, fan interaction segment. Sorry, a little frustrated here. Things acting funny because how the computer crashed kind of before the show started. Before I recorded the first segment, it's like everything was kind of like gone. I had to reset everything, so kind of annoying. It didn't really crash, but it kind of did. You know, that type of thing where it's like a forced restart, so it might as well be a crash. So, yep, there's nothing on Instagram. Instagram is Purple Mafia Show. The Twitter is not working on the computer, so I have to go with a smart device, which is annoying. At Purple Mafia Show, I'm not sure what to do with that. It's weird. I don't know. Like, I know the password, but it's not working. So I don't know what to do in that situation. It's enough to make you go absolutely berserk. Like, there's no bleeping reason why it shouldn't work. You know, that type of thing. Yeah. Anyhow, Tanae Brown out of New Zealand on the Twitter account says, what was I saying? Okay, so, yep, I was doing a poll. That's why. Okay, so the poll was, what's the best scenario in 2025? J.J. McCarthy and Daniel Jones. That'd be like what, J.J. McCarthy's the starting quarterback. And Daniel Jones is the backup. The second one is Darnold. Yep, you signed Darnold to a long term. So it's just like Darnold and Jones, and then you trade J.J. McCarthy, which thankfully nobody chose. I wouldn't either, believe me. And then the final choice was franchise Darnold for 1 year and then have J.J. as the backup and all that and work into the next year and possibly be the starter going forward after that. That won with 80%. Of course, there were only a few votes because the Pro Mafia Twitter doesn't reach anybody anymore, and I don't know why that is. But those of you that it did reach, thank you. Danae Brown out of New Zealand says, I didn't even think of franchising Darnold, but it makes the most sense. I have a feeling the Giants or Raiders are going to throw a lot of money at him, though. Deservedly so, too. What an awesome story this year he has been. I read this wrong. What an awesome story this has, what an awesome story this year has been for him. Sorry, Tanae, I'm all over the place here. Too much cinnamon tea or something. But yeah, it's definitely been an awesome story for franchise, for Sam Darnold. So that one won, yeah, and that wouldn't be bad if it's just a 1 year thing. And then you go with go with JJ after that. Maybe he kind of recovers and all that, and you never know. What if Darnold gets hurt or Darnold struggles and all that, and JJ takes over, which could have been this year. A lot of people thought JJ would have taken over if he had been healthy after the Jacksonville game. It's interesting to think how things changed so much after that, where Darnold just completely changed. I would say he had one of his weaker performances yesterday. Not that bad though. Against the Falcons, he was unbelievable. So I mean, Darnold has had good games and mediocre games. Continuing on the Twitter or X. What was going on? Okay. Yep, Vince Germano was talking about the Browns. Yep, saying, how they only managed 7 lousy points versus the Chiefs. Pathetic franchise, but yeah, let's keep Krapstensky. Yep, he doesn't like the coach, and Barry. Two out of 4 guys who stuffed it all up. Depot needs to go. Yeah, I agree with that. And Haslam needs to sell the team. Yep, I feel you on all of that. I do. Today was saying, Skull, brother, join us at Purple Mafia or with the Vikings. And then this is Vince Germano, of course, been a supporter forever, obviously, and a great friend, and he's a Browns fan. He says, I can't. I need to turn this pitiful franchise around, LOL. Today is from New Zealand. Vince Germano's from Australia, just to kind of let anybody know. Dave Hickey from Iowa. Monday Night Football against the Bears, always a tough fight. 13-0 at the half. We can't keep leaving points on the field. Oh, that was the story in so many ways yesterday, wasn't it? Felt like it could have been the hugest blowout ever, but it wasn't. Dave continuing, saying, one of the top 5 comebacks in history of the Vikings. Great two-play touchdown drive. TK9. Sounds like Tommy Kramer right there, doesn't it? Yeah, that was a fun one. Yep, 2-minute Tommy, right? Next, or final one on Twitter. Yep, no Mr. Dave Martin, Mad Martin from Northern Scotland, because it was like the middle of the night. So, yeah. And I could imagine him not trying to not be overly invested because he's been through so much heartbreak. He's seen the Vikings lose a Super Bowl, so I believe Dave Hickey has as well. But, the timing is okay for us. I wouldn't really want to watch a game at 3 in the morning either. Podcast or not, I'd be like, okay, I'll watch it in the morning. Okay, guys? Yeah, seriously. if I'm able to with work and everything. But, in my case, yes, the mornings are my time off because I'm a second shift person most of the time. David says, why are they continuing with Aaron Jones? Don't risk an injury or wear and tear on that old body. Put Ty Chandler. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Exactly, though. I mean, and you obviously, Cam Akers, you don't want another crazy injury again as well, poor guy. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, you hardly play him at all anyway. But, they left him in too long. I do agree with some of that. Some of those guys were out there too long. That's the Twitter. So on to Facebook. So look up Purple Mafia Show, Minnesota Vikings Show. Basically, look that up if you can. The in-game thread. Mike Dale from the state of New York says turnover on downs. The building is buzzing. Yep, that was at the beginning there, that 4th and 1 on the 39. Yep. Mike Dale continues, says, this defense is just making all the plays right now. Absolutely. Gerald Sring out of South Dakota, not Nebraska anymore, says, boy, it's too bad that our O-line interior is terrible. Yep, did I mention we need some guards, right? I'll never forget that call. I wish I could have saved that soundbite. I wish I could find that one. It'd be so perfect. Maybe do that again sometime, Gerald. Say, did I mention we need some guards? And maybe I could save it as a soundbite. That'd be so cool. Even maybe even send a bite saying that. Please, that'd be awesome. Boy, it's too bad. Our O-line is terrible. That's our Achilles. Oh boy, don't say that word. That's our Achilles heel right now for making a decent playoff run. Oh, stay away from that word Achilles. Didn't Brian O'Neill have that last year? I think he had an Achilles. It was like partial. I think it was a partial, and then he was able to come back and all that, the next year. Yeah. I think, or was that 2 years ago? Final Fantasy VII? What's this doing here? Well, what was that? It wasn't even an ad. It was an ad, but not for Final Fantasy. I just saw Aerith, like Final Fantasy VII. Ever heard of that game? PlayStation 1, 97? It was obviously a remake. Everything is... Oh, it's so much better now. Oh, yeah. I don't like 3D at all. I don't like 3D games. I just don't. Anyhow, of course, FF7 was kind of the beginning of that anyway. Vikings versus Bears post-game thread. Yes, and again, Instagram, unfortunately, nothing. But I can imagine that emerging with people in the future at some point. Again, too little, too late, unfortunately. A day late, dollar short with things. Oh, yeah, but TikTok, I think, can help a little bit, even though I don't like the obnoxious spoiled brats dancing on dancing videos. I can't stand that garbage. But if you can get your podcast out there like, hey, here's Pro Mafia, might as well use it for that. I will ignore all the spoiled brat chicks and dudes dancing in front of the camera. I'd rather cut my toenails or something. I'm sorry. I have no interest at all. Next, I can't. Mark Carlson, I can't believe that goal line D. Yep, it was awesome, wasn't it? Mark Carlson continuing from Iowa. I did only see the second half. I might be the only one who disliked the whiteout uniforms. They were okay, I guess, maybe. I would like to say the team is still improving, and I hope we roll in hot. And pound our way to victory by crushing the rest of the teams available on our schedule. I am so excited to be a 12-win team. Victory. Yep. Those uniforms aren't that great, aren't they? Are they? I'm kind of leaning your way, Mark, too. After more thought and kind of paying attention to it and stuff, they weren't that great. No, I think they could just have the white uniforms, maybe the white helmets, but even the helmets weren't. Yeah, the white helmets. They didn't need to change the uniforms to anything. They could have just wore the standard white uniforms like they did the last time the first time in 2022. Just maybe the only difference, the white helmets. Yeah, those uniforms they're not that great, are they? It's just you know what all it is. I mean, Mark knows this as much as I do. Frickin' money grab, right? Yeah, that's all that really is. Oh, we can sell it. Yeah, look at all the people wearing that stuff. So that's pretty much what happened. Gerald String, South Dakota, says, Mark Carlson, you're not alone. We were brought up in purple. Yep. I mean, I still like the whiteout concept, but those different uniforms I'm not a fan of. They could have wore the white uniforms at home. You know what I mean? They could have done that. Yeah. It's just wearing white at home, that kind of thing. The different uniforms I think were unnecessary, but it's just a stupid money grab, right? Yeah, that's all it really is. Mike Dale, to wrap things up, says, all in all, a thoroughly professional, well-played routine win against a rudderless Bears team that they should easily beat. Yeah, but I mean, obviously the first half wasn't so great, but anyhow, and Mike would probably agree with that. Other than Cam Robinson and his numerous yellow laundry-inducing displays, can't really complain about much. Yeah, I agree. I could also bring up J-Jet's probable touchdown drop, but I'm not. See what I did there? Yeah, you did bring it up. Very pleased with the team's performance tonight, and good to see players and the fans getting behind Randy Moss in his fight against cancer. Swift victory. Randy. Skull. So it's like a different accent there. Interesting how I did that one. Skull. Probably like the actual language. Viking language, guys. Okay, sorry, I don't know what accent that was. That's on me there. But great job. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Gerald. Thank you so much, Tanae. Thank you so much, of course, Dave Hickey out of Iowa. You guys are awesome. Dave Hickey, Mark from Iowa. Tanae from New Zealand. Vince Germano from Australia. Mike Dale from the state of New York, not the city. And did I say Gerald String in South Dakota? Yeah. So awesome. Thank you guys so much for the interaction. I love you to death. Encourage your friends to listen to the show and join the Facebook page, which is kind of crying out, hey, I'm still here. Maybe, I don't know. I'm almost thinking of recreating the Twitter. I'm so frustrated with how that thing is behaving. But I think that'd be tough to lose. But I'm almost thinking of doing that. It's almost like it feels like it's corrupted, like virus or something. I don't know what to do, but I'll feel a lot better when I know I can actually sign into a browser with that, because that's been an issue for a while now, and I don't know what the heck to say. It doesn't make any damn sense. But anyhow, with all of that said, I thank each and every one of you for your loyalty, your kindness to the show. Obviously, it's been fun keeping up with this team this season. It's been great. It's nice to see Purple Mafia back in the top 3% versus the top 5% in the podcasting world. So I guess it's still what you could call the big show. In terms of my podcast, it does have the top overall standing in the podcasting universe. So, yep. I mean, I appreciate it. Despite what appear to be attempts from someone or something outside that's been hurting the show. Like killing the Twitter account, basically killing the Facebook page, completely killing that. The Twitter account don't know what the hell is going on there. So on and so forth. The Instagram is still kind of like a tiny little plant with two little tiny leaves, the one that's coming out of the bottom of a rock to trying to grow into a big giant tree, that type of thing. That's what that's trying to do. But not sure. Just like a giant tree, it would take forever to get there, but I don't know. I'll keep doing the show. I'll keep doing it, and partially in hopes that one day we'll be able to cover a team from training camp up to the Super Bowl for a Super Bowl championship to see the end of the drought. So hopefully that day is not that far away. That would be absolutely wonderful. So with all of that said, as I've babbled all over the place, if you could give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other app that allows you to do so. If you want to write a review, that's even better. Encourage your friends to join the page. Encourage your friends to join the Twitter. If I don't recreate it, but for now, it's going to be the Twitter account. The Instagram is Purple Mafia Show. Very easy to find. Just all in one word. So easy to find if you have Instagram. The TikTok, paladino.live. Everything is there in one place. From Purple Mafia to Freedom of Thought to video game flashback, so on and so forth. So Timberwolves Explosion, Brave the Wild. Just want to say how much I appreciate each and every one of you. Merry Christmas season. Just in case, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. So if you celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, recognizing you. Thank you for listening to my show. And again, everyone, please tell your friends if you could. With that said, take care, God bless, and we will talk to you in a week.